Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of this sound design tutorial. This will be the final part in the 3-part series of videos. So first up, I wanted to have a bit of a discussion about underwater sound design. So first up, I wanted to show you these two graphs here. So the top graph is a human audiogram for sound traveling through air. That showing us the ear's sensitivity to sound when it travels through air. And the bottom one is showing the human sensitivity to sound traveling through water. And just by looking at these, we can see that there are kind of two really noticeable differences. Is that between 1000 hertz and 5000 hertz, or the presence region for anybody who knows their kind of frequency ranges, we're more sensitive to those frequencies when the sound is traveling through air. That is, it's easier, we need lower sound pressure levels to perceive those sounds. So yeah, that's our presence region. Whereas in water, it's a little bit different. We can see kind of 1 to 5000 hertz here. We need kind of higher sound pressure levels to perceive those sounds, and it kind of grows there, as you can see. Whereas the 500 hertz to 1000 hertz is easier for us to perceive underwater. So I guess what kind of needs to be known here is that the sound doesn't change, and neither does our perception of it. It's just the medium that changes the sound. So 500 hertz and 1000 hertz travels easier through water than it does through air, and thus we perceive that. So if we know that, we can start applying EQ to these sounds here. So these are going to be the sounds of the bullet traveling through the water. Now what I've done here is, I'll just zoom in on these, is that I've gone through and I've randomly just inverted and reversed these sounds here. I did that to create kind of a randomness, and I did this without showing you guys, just because it's time consuming, and I've done it for the top here too. Okay, so the two samples we're using is the sounds of glass smashing and a mug smash. It's just the ends of those samples. It's not the initial kind of crash of the break. It's just the debris, pretty much. So let's have a listen to that on its own. This is the glass smash. Let's have a listen again. We can hear that. That's pretty random. Okay, and let's have a listen to this. Not so, kind of random. It's a little bit kind of chaotic there, but that's alright. That's alright. We can fix that that soon. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight all these glass smashing regions. I'm going to go up to Audio Suite, get a 7-band EQ, and I'm going to engage a high pass and a low pass filter at 24 dB an octave. So it's fairly kind of steep. And I'm going to play this, and because we know that around 500 hertz to 1000 hertz, it's going to sound kind of, I don't know, a little bit underwatery. That's where we're going to set our frequencies. So let's just bring these up. I'll play this. Bring this down. Now that might be hard to hear at the minute, so I'm just going to render that out. I'm going to create a continuous file. Okay, and I'm going to bring the level up of this. Might just bring, this might just be a little bit too loud here. So let's have a listen to this. Okay, so that's sounding really sloshy and underwatery. There's a lot of movement there, which is why I use the glass sound, just to create movement as the bullet travels through the skull. And I think that's kind of sounding muffled and underwatery. Yeah, yeah. So what we're going to do now is, oh, I might bring that level down. Okay, we are going to do the same thing for the mug smash up here. So I'm going to go EQ, I'm going to get a 7-band EQ, I'm going to engage the high and low pass filters. Play them, I'll set them around the same points. Now that's even harder to hear. That's even, probably because there's such a lot of high frequency information there. So I'm going to render that out. Okay, and that looks like it's almost inaudible, so I'm going to bring the level up of that. Let's solo that and have a listen. Now that's, you can hear the repetitions in sound there, but that's alright, because it'll play underneath this other sound. Probably a little bit too much. I think that's sounding good. Okay, and the last sound is going to be the sound of this Harrier jet taking off. Let's have a listen. So that's pretty much what it is. It's the sound of a Harrier jet taking off. Might just put a fade in the front there so it sounds a little more even. So I'm going to do the same thing. Now I'm using this sound as a kind of sweetening sound, something to glue everything together underneath it all. So I'm just going to set the EQ at about the same point. It's nice and muffled and underwatery. I'm going to render that out, and I'm only going to bring this up slightly because I don't want it to overpower too much. I don't want it to be recognizable. Okay, so let's have a listen to all those sounds together. You can still hear that jag. Okay, I think that sounds pretty good. I think it's sounding nice. We're getting a lot of movement. We're getting kind of a muffled underwater sound. It's fast, which is what we want, which is great for this. Okay, and to end the clip off, I've just got a collection of sounds, which are kind of glass breaking sounds as the bullet exits the skull. These are pretty raw sounds. I've tried to kind of mimic kind of the same way as the bullet enters to the bullet exiting. I've tried to make them similar, not the same. So I've just collected a group of sounds. So I've got splashes, I've got a cricket ball smashing a television screen. I've got this weird whooshing sound here that we can have a listen to. So that's kind of to build tension as the bullet exits. Not as much as the bullet entering. We kind of don't want that aesthetic, or personally for me, I didn't. So I wanted to build tension as the bullet exits, slight tension anyway. And we've got this, so we've got the sound of glass smashing, very high pitched. And we've got TV screen being smashed and 2 splashing sounds. So yeah, so I think the splashing sounds aren't there to kind of mimic the bullet exiting the skull. I think they're there to kind of sweeten the sound of the glass smashing, just because they've got a similar texture. Now, I'm not sure if I explained sweetening before, but sweetening is just kind of layering, or just adding elements to sound to kind of make them full and make them sound better. So with that in mind, let's have a listen to the whole clip in context. Okay, so that's it. I think it all sounds pretty good. So hopefully you guys have seen with this tutorial the kind of technical processing that you can do and thinking about sounds a little bit differently, so you can kind of create your tonal textures that you're looking for. All in all, I think it worked out okay. I mean, this was kind of rushed and on the fly, but this kind of gives you a fair idea as to how to think about sound, kind of be creative with it, and kind of matching those technical aspects that you have. Also, these files will be available online, and you can just have a look at the link, and you can download them for yourself, so you can watch and kind of mess around with them at your own leisure. So thanks for joining me. Hopefully you guys took something out of it.